Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Tonight on Our News, the minister responsible for the National Insurance Board details how much assistance has been paid out. Health officials still waiting on results to determine whether or not COVID-19 variants are in country. Plus, Baha Mar's SLS and Rosewood hotels reopen. Our Kyle Joaquin has the latest. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, Minister of the Public Service and National Insurance Brensel Roll giving a detailed breakdown of the nearly $250 million that was spent by NIB during the ongoing global pandemic. Jasmine Brown reports.
The bulk of the $242 million spent by the National Insurance Board during the pandemic went to social assistance programs. That's according to Public Service and National Insurance Minister Brensel Roll, who says those programs were in huge demand last year.
It was this assistance, Mr. Speaker, that kept the Bahamian economy afloat. $104 million injected directly into the system.
He said during the COVID-19 pandemic, thousands of Bahamians found themselves out of work and in need of social assistance. The NIB minister says NIB has had to step up its efforts to help Bahamians who have fallen on hard times.
For the period August 25th, 2019 to February 2021, NIB has dispersed to the Bahamian people $242.6 million.
He gave a breakdown of how the money was paid out.
More than $104 million in unemployment benefit was paid out by NIB for Hurricane Dorian and COVID-19. Think about that, Mr. Speaker. Two events that no one could plan for. And NIB, because of its foundation, had to come up with $104 million the government of the Bahamas funded unemployment assistance program for self-employed persons, $15.6 million.
With thousands of people still out of work and dependent on NIB assistance, the NIB minister acknowledges concerns about when the program will come to an end. He says the government will keep up the assistance for as long as it can. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, Roll also touched on the public service. He says more than 1,000 unconfirmed public service workers who have been there for years will get their confirmation letters soon. Meanwhile, weeks after 52 COVID-19 test samples were sent abroad to determine if any new coronavirus strains are in the Bahamas, Health Minister Renward Wells says they're still awaiting the results.
We have not as yet. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving to go to a meeting on that very same thing and our testing protocols where we are.
More than 80 countries, including the United States, the United Kingdom, South Africa, and Brazil, have already detected new COVID-19 variants. At the moment, health officials say there's no evidence to suggest that there are any new strains in country. Director of the National Reference Lab, Dr. Indira Martin, told reporters a few weeks ago the samples were sent to a reference lab in Brazil. Today, the health minister said health officials are also looking to develop a more robust testing platform for rapid antigen tests.
So that all of the labs in the Bahamas would be on this platform and every individual can go and take a test, not just for travel purposes, but just to take the test. And then those results will immediately be reported to our surveillance unit, one way or the other, the positive tests.
And as countries around the world await the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines, Director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Carissa Etienne, is warning against becoming complacent and being lax with COVID-19 safety protocols.
Complacency can be deadly. Without effective control measures, in just a couple of weeks, infection and hospitalization rates can spike drastically.
While many countries in the region, such as the Bahamas, await the arrival of the vaccine, the first wave of deliveries have begun in the region.
So far, 93 million people have received a COVID vaccine in our region, and more people are being vaccinated with each passing day. On Monday, Colombia became the first country in the Americas to receive a COVAX shipment when 117,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccine arrived as part of the COVAX first wave of deliveries.
Dr. Etienne says 28.7 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccines are expected to be delivered to countries in the region by the end of May 2021. In other news, March 25th would have made an entire year the SLS and Rosewood hotels closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But as the tourism industry makes a slow rebound, the two Baha Mar brands are back in business tonight. Kyle Joaquin has the story.
After nearly a year of closure, guests once again able to experience the high energy and good vibes as the SLS at Baha Mar reopens its doors today. The doors of the SLS and Rosewood at Baha Mar are back open as the two brands bring sophistication and luxury to the resort's offerings. VP and SLS General Manager Axel Gasser says more than 300 employees are back to work at SLS and 260 returned to Rosewood. That brings the total number of employees to 2,500 as the resort makes its rebound.
So in this phase, we had about 105 that came back. So altogether, we're at about 340 people that we currently have back. I know we're possibly working on, bringing some additional venues back. So we're hoping that, over the next few weeks, as the demand increases, we'll be able to bring back, the last, few people that are currently not here.
And as tourists slowly make their return to the Bahamas, Gasser says there is optimism and promise with bookings.
So what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a good increase of bookings, various different things. You have spring break is coming up. March is traditionally a very good month, but we've also seen a decline in cases in our feeder markets. The U.S. has become a bit more strategic with the vaccine rollout. So we remain optimistic that in the next few weeks, our demand will increase as well.
Dining experiences including Karna, Philia, and Katsuya are back, as well as a new experience at Rosewood that will be opening soon. Gasser explains that locals can get back into the dining and relaxing experience at Sky Bar and Monkey Bar, with the resort offering complimentary antigen testing.
So essentially, you just basically go online, make a reservation, follow the link. That gives you basically your appointment for the rapid test. And then once you are negative, you just bring this test, enjoy, have a wonderful dinner or drinks here at the property, and at final check, just present it, and we'll give you that full credit of the test back to your account. So essentially, we pay for your test.
Grand Hyatt welcomed its first guests back to the resort in December. Gasser says with COVID numbers dropping in key markets, things are looking up.
It's been just about a year that we've been closed, and seeing all of the faces come back and seeing the excitement and hearing the story of what our staff has gone through, the pain and suffering. So it's truly a very, very emotional day for us to open our doors, welcome our incredible team back, and again, our guests, and do what we're really meant to do, which is, curating experiences and taking care of our guests.
From SLS at Baha Mar for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, temperatures getting down to the low 70s tonight. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the details.
Thanks, Christina. Our first look at weather tonight is being brought to you by Ports International for all your medical supplies and your equipment needs. Cooler conditions outside our studios under partly cloudy skies. Temperatures are in the low 70s, 73 degrees outside our studios with a brisk northwest wind at 10 knots. Feels like temperature 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Frontal boundary now in the central Bahamas. Cloudy conditions associated with that across the area and behind across the northwest Bahamas. Some small showers associated with the boundary, but we expect that boundary continue to stay stationary across the central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Ahead on our news, travel from the Bahamas to the United States is down as new technology is rolled out. But first, senior officers have their special assignments extended. Their attorney speaks out when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Three senior officers Wednesday learning that their special assignments at various ministries have been extended. Now their attorney is speaking out as he says his clients feel their skills and talents are being wasted. Bethany McDermott has that.
Three senior police officers yesterday receiving letters from Police Commissioner Paul Roll indicating that their reassignments to government ministries have been extended. Assistant Commissioners of Police Kendall Strawn and Lemon Deleville had their special assignments extended another 2 years, while ACP Clayton Fernandez's special assignment was extended for 1 year and 7 months. The letter instructed the senior officers to report to the permanent secretaries in the individual ministries, a move Attorney Wayne Monroe feels is not in line with their rank and skills.
They don't see it as a legitimate use of their time and talent, or the use of the resources of the Bahamas Treasury, because they're paid, because then they can't be the subject of discipline because nobody is saying they've done anything wrong.
According to Monroe, when ACP Strawn reported to his post, he met a shocked permanent secretary.
He met with the PS, who seemed clueless about why he was sent there, said she was checked on why he was sent there, and that's the situation with him.
Monroe added that he feels the decision to extend these officers' special assignment was political in nature.
Every decision you make in a human organization is political in nature. Whether it is a proper use of resources is a different issue. Clearly remember now, this was taking place, all of this debacle was taking place after Hurricane Dorian during the pandemic, when we were told that there was shortage of police manpower resources. So one wonders how you justify these deployments.
8 senior police officers were instructed to take vacation leave back in 2019. When that leave ended, those officers were sent on special assignments for a year. ACP Fernandez was assigned to the Ministry of Health, ACP Deleville was assigned to the Ministry of Education, and ACP Strawn was assigned to head security at juvenile schools. The matter was raised to Minister of National Security Marvin Dames Thursday, who stressed these ministries are in need of the assistance.
These ministries are in need of significant help in terms of safety and security. And we felt that, within the police force, who's charged with that responsibility, that they could bring to bear the experience to assist these very key ministries.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
In other news, a new facial recognition software has been rolled out at Lynden Pinling International Airport for simplifying the pre-clearance process for passengers heading to the United States. Jillian Gray reports.
Travel has significantly reduced from the Bahamas to the United States as a result of the pandemic. I can tell you that we certainly did see some spikes in the figures around Christmas time, the Christmas holiday.
Travel from the Bahamas to the United States has reduced over the last year. That's according to Customs and Border Protection Area Port Director Jeff Mara, who says while there have been some spikes, travel is nowhere near pre-pandemic levels. The 2019 fiscal year was a record-setting year for Nassau pre-clearance, according to Mara, who says more than 1.4 million passengers traveling from the Bahamas to the United States were processed. That figure was a 16% increase from the year before.
The expectation is that once the pandemic certainly reaches a more favorable point, we will see numbers dramatically increase.
In preparation for that uptick, CBP has made some upgrades, including facial recognition biometric technology known as the Simplified Arrival. The tech, introduced in December, takes a photo of the passenger, sending it through databases to check for admissibility into the U.S. Once an officer verifies the information, the passenger is on their way.
Simplified Arrival uses the state-of-the-art facial recognition comparison technology, and it creates a more safe, secure, and seamless travel experience. And that's because it's a hands-free process. So again, the traveler has the opportunity to not to touch as many things throughout the process.
Mara says it's being used in 15 locations. Grand Bahama, which would have been the 16th, was excluded from this upgrade as its airport has not been up to CBP standards since Hurricane Dorian significantly damaged its airport. Once that airport's upgrade is complete, Mara says they can resume pre-clearance in Grand Bahama. Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Meanwhile, technology may give the financial services sector the boost it needs to rise above the pandemic. Our Giorgio Bain tells us how it works.
A new wave of financial technology may be the shot in the arm the Bahamas needs to attract foreign investors to the country, according to Financial Services Minister Ellsworth Johnson.
Our objective is to stabilize our strength within the sector while continuing to expand our market share through new initiatives, attracting investors from around the world and creating a fertile environment for domestic participation in this emerging industry.
Johnson says new financial technology has led to a boom in the financial sector. Now his ministry is working to raise awareness about the opportunities available here in the Bahamas.
And the current trajectory indicates that the continuous growth and innovation in this space will continue.
Securities Commission Executive Director Christina Roll addressed the legislation, regulation, and practices in country, explaining that DARE, the Digital Assets and Registered Exchanges Act, will create a slate of new opportunities for business owners and financial institutions.
DARE requires digital assets businesses to have systems in place to prevent, detect, and disclose money laundering, terrorist financing, and suspicious transactions, and subjects them to the requirements of the Proceeds of Crime Act 2018, the Anti-Terrorism Act 2019, and the Financial Transactions Reporting Act 2018.
Rose says the necessary legislation will be introduced to ensure transparency. Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bay.
When our news comes back from the break, Cabinet considers issuing NIB cards at birth, and a big win for Grand Bahama pro baller Buddy Hield. The details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. The National Insurance Board is considering issuing NIB cards to Bahamians at birth. That's according to NIB Minister Brentzel Roll, who tells parliamentarians that Cabinet has already given the issue consideration.
So what we propose to do, Mr. Speaker, is to have a card for anyone that is born in the Bahamas. You get a card with a unique identifier on your card, a unique number. And Mr. Speaker, what the card will say is that you're born in the Bahamas. But we can determine that you're a Bahamian, your status will be Bahamian. If at the time of your birth, we cannot determine that you are whether you're a Bahamian or not, we will just indicate that your status is unknown.
Roll's comments not sitting well with former Immigration Minister Brent Simonet, who insists it's not NIB's job to determine who is or is not a Bahamian.
Just because you're born here, you're not Bahamian. We have an Immigration Act in draft form circulating that will deal with that issue. But I think immigration should be careful on making pronouncements on who, NIB, or who is a Bahamian. You can say who's born here, but not who's Bahamian.
Roll defended his comment, saying NIB would not be making any type of determination on citizenship and would work closely with relevant government agencies and ministries to make any decision on citizenship. And 2020 has been the most challenging year on record for the Water and Sewage Corporation. That according to Executive Chairman of WSC, Adrian Gibson, who says it incurred monumental losses over the past year.
WSC incurred a 30% loss. That is
$53,634,835.01 in 2019 versus $37,369,883.39 in 2020. This figure did not include payment of water bills by government agencies, and still we kept the water flowing.
Despite the financial issues, Gibson says officials realize the importance of not having mass disconnection exercises during a global pandemic. Well, Grand Bahama native Buddy Hield coming up big against the defending NBA champs. Here's Marcellus Hall.
All right, thanks, Christina, and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The saying goes, one man's loss is another man's gain. Or is it maybe something about a loss and a treasure? Not exactly sure. What we do know is that the Lakers lost two of their top players last night, that being Anthony Davis and LeBron James, both without injury. That added up to a potential win for the Sacramento Kings and Buddy Hield. Let's take a look and see exactly how it played out. Back on the court for Buddy Hield and the Sacramento Kings last night. Kings facing off against the LA Lakers, who were without star players Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Now, with the potential to pick up a much-needed win, Buddy would rise to the occasion. Grand Bahama native shaking off the effects of a sore ankle to lead his team in scoring, finished up with 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. He made 7 of his 11 three-pointers on the night. Kings holding on for the victory, 123-120 your final. The win for the Kings just their second in their last 12 games. Kings at one point trailing by as many as 14 points in the first half before Hield scoring 8 straight points in just under a minute to erase the deficit and take a 2-point lead. Kings would hold on, and they'll play their next game tonight, taking on the Portland Trailblazers. And that's your check on sports for you here on this Thursday. Don't forget to join us tomorrow evening for another edition of The Locker Room. Promise you it's going to be a good one. That's all ahead if you stick with us. That's your check on sports. As we said, I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Marcellus. Next on our news, the weekend forecast from the Weather Center and what has wedding industry businesses feeling blue. The details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. Is there rain ahead this weekend? Greg is back in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks again, Christina, and happy Thursday evening, everybody. Frontal boundary that pushed through the northwest Bahamas overnight, now into the central Bahamas. Isolated showers along that boundary. We expect that boundary to continue to weaken and stall across that area. We are watching another low-pressure system developing in the Gulf of Mexico. That should drag another cold front across the Bahamas by Saturday, and the winds will be picking up, so boating and beaching conditions will become a challenge for the weekend. Your boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas, your winds will be out of the northeast at 15 knots, seas running 3 to 5 feet, so we have a caution flag posted for you guys because the wind's expected to be gusting higher. While in the central and southeast Bahamas, your winds will be lighter, northwest and north, 10 knots, seas running 1 to 3 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Tuesday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everyone. Christina?
Thanks, Greg. A local wedding industry stakeholder is tonight pleading with the competent authority to stop the industry from dying. Button's bridal manager and Bahamas Bridal Show director Makiva Wallace says with nearly a year of restrictions and months of limiting wedding attendance to 20 people, those who depend on the industry to make a living are finding it hard to stay open. To make things worse, Wallace says repeated letters to the competent authority have gone unanswered. Wallace says if other businesses, even churches, are allowed to operate with more people in attendance, why can't Bahamians get to enjoy their big day? Weddings are currently permitted in a religious facility with only 20 people in attendance. Thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.